As shown in this table, the PCO budget for fiscal year 2024, if you'll permit me to go back 2 years ago, under the GA amounted to 948 million, while for fiscal year 2025, it was actually reduced, Madam Chair, to just 713 million. For fiscal year 2026, the proposed budget under the NEP is 972 million pesos. This reflects an increase of about 258 million or 36.27% compared to 2025. However, if we compare this at a longer view to 2024, the increase is only 23 million or just 2.4% from 2024. This shows that for fiscal year 2026, our proposed budget is essentially within the same range as our 2024 level. The increase is modest and reasonable when we factor in inflation, rising operational costs, and the expanded functions of the PCO under recent executive orders. In other words, the adjustments does not represent a significant expansion, but rather a catch-up to sustain our mandate effectively. Okay, next slide, please. Breaking down the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget by allotment class, we see the personal service has a slight decrease of 3.16 million pesos or 1.43% compared to 2025. This is due to adjustments in staffing requirements and reflect a stable personnel complement for the PCO. The biggest increase is in maintenance and operating expenses, which rises by 252 million or 52.65%. This reflects the operational demands of the PCO in fulfilling expanded mandate under Executive Orders 2, 11, and 16, particularly in terms of media coverage of presidential engagements, digital communications, and strengthening government messaging and feedback mechanisms. Finally, capital outlay increased by only 9.86 million or 70.37%. While the percentage looks large, the actual amount remains very small. This allocation will go to critical investments in information and communications technology and other essential equipment which are necessary to modernize and keep pace with the evolving communications landscape. Overall, this breakdown shows that the PCO's proposed budget remains lean and focused, with the bulk of the increase directed towards enabling us to carry our operational requirements more effectively. Next slide. Allotment by class. Of this total, 3/4 or 75% is allocated to MOOE, reflecting the operational requirements of the agency in carrying out its wide-ranging mandate. Personal services accounts for 22%, providing for the men and women of the office to perform not only communications functions, but also administrative, technical, and support services essential to our operations. Meanwhile, only 3% of our proposed budget under the NEP is earmarked for capital outlay, underscoring the very limited resources available for investments in modern information and communications technology and other essential equipment. For personnel services, the proposed allocation of 217 million, 27% of which of the approved budget under the NEP. The bulk of this, or about 211 million, covers the requirements for the 116 filled positions within the PCO. This ensures that our existing plantilla positions are fully supported. We have also allocated 5.44 million for 7 non-permanent positions, which provide additional manpower to support the office's expanding functions. In addition, 679,000 has been set aside for the terminal leave benefit of one mandatory retiree for the fiscal year, and 30,000 pesos for loyalty awards for 4 personnel recognizing their years of dedicated service. The proposed budget for MOOE of 730 million pesos pertains to, number 1, operating requirements for formulation, coordination, and implementation of integrated public information plans and programs our core operations under the Presidential Communications Program, which is 625 million pesos. And number two, operating requirements for general administration and support services, which is 104 million pesos. For capital outlay, the PCO has proposed an allocation of 23 million pesos, which is only 3% of our approved budget under the NEP. This amount is intended primarily for our ICT requirements in line with the updated Information Systems Strategic Plan, ISSP, as well as for essential office equipment outlay. The allocation is modest, but it is critical. Investment in modern ICT systems and office equipment will allow the PCO to keep pace with today's fast-evolving communications environment, ensuring that our platforms remain efficient, secure, and responsive to the needs of both government and the public. Now I move on to our accomplishments. We wish to emphasize that the PCO has been consistently achieving its targets. The PCO proper's Congress-approved performance indicators, targets, and budget allocation under the GAA are shown on the succeeding slides. These targets are achieved through the synergy and collaboration of various operating offices and units of the PCO proper. Madam Chair, honorable members of the committee, we are honored to report this for the third consecutive year. The Commission on Audit has rendered an unmodified opinion on the PCO's financial statements, most recently for the year ending December 31st, 2024. This underscores our steadfast commitment to transparency and sound financial management. Furthermore, we are also honored to report that for fiscal year 2024 Agency Performance Review, or the Budget ng Bayan Monitor, recently released by the DBM, the PCO attained an average score of 4.76 with a rating of very satisfactory based on both its financial and physical performance. Even more noteworthy, two of our attached agencies, the News and Information Bureau and the Philippine Information Agency, earned an outstanding rating with a perfect score of 5.0, placing them among the top 14 performing agencies nationwide out of the 308 assessed agencies. We recognize, however, that there remains room for improvement, particularly in areas affected by intervening factors in program implementation, such as procurement bottlenecks and transitional activities related to the change in top leadership. Nevertheless, this results underscores the continued excellence of our operations and strategic delivery of our communication services. May we just note that for the APR rating does not cover the National Printing Office. As for fiscal year 2024, personal services appropriation remained unutilized by year-end, given that its revolving fund was still sufficient to cover its operating requirements. The agency has achieved and exceeded all the targets for its performance indicators under the 2024 General Appropriations Act. For the PCO proper's financial performance, for 2024, 82.92 of the obligated funds under all available appropriations last year were already disbursed or paid. As of December 31st, 2024, more than 86.37% of our released appropriations in 2024 were obligated or utilized. For the current year, we have already obligated 36.14% of our available appropriations as of 15 August 2025, out of which 79.51% have already been paid or disbursed. Here now are the major programs and activities and projects to be funded by our proposed 2026 budget. In line with our mandate as provided under Executive Order Number 16, Series of 2023, the herein budget proposal of the PCO family for fiscal year 2026 primarily aims to support the priorities and policy directions of the Marcos administration related to and in support of the crafting, formulation, development, enhancement, and coordination of the messaging system of the executive branch and the Office of the President, as embodied in the President's 8-point socioeconomic agenda and the updated Philippine Development Plan of years 2023 to year 2028. While the specific budgetary thrust and priorities for the PCO may vary depending on the prevailing socio-economic and political context, the strategic direction set by the PCO management under the current administration to guide the expenditure planning for our yearly operations can be summarized into these 5 main priorities. Number 1, efficient and effective coverage and documentation of presidential events. We will strengthen our coverage of the President's local and international engagements, ensuring timely, accurate, and relevant information reaching our citizenry. This includes maximizing both state media, traditional and digital platforms to bring government closer to the people. Just as important, we view the media not only as channels but as partners in shaping informed public discourse. By working hand in hand with the media, we can ensure truthful and responsive reporting that builds trust and awareness of the President's work. The President's events play a vital role in shaping public opinion, fostering citizen engagement, and promoting government policies and initiatives. Proposing additional resources will enable the PCO to deploy a competent team of news writers, photographers, videographers, and support staff to provide comprehensive coverage of presidential events and engagements. This will facilitate accurate and timely dissemination of information to the public through various media channels, pre-event media briefings, and post-event interviews, including the issuance of press releases, conduct of live broadcasts, posting on social media platforms, and official publications. Second, strengthen transparency and accountability. Transparent and accountable governance is essential for fostering trust and confidence among the citizens. By proposing an additional budget for the management and media coverage of the President's events, PCO can ensure that the public is kept informed about presidential activities, decisions, and engagements. This transparency allows citizens to evaluate government's performance, participate in public discourse through the available tools in various social media assets, and hold elected officials accountable for their actions, ultimately strengthening democratic processes and promoting good governance. PCO's PAPs, such as campus caravans, where the media and information literacy program is promoted, are good examples of these efforts. Moreover, the continued implementation of the FOI program, as spearheaded by the PCO, complements the government's efforts in upholding these principles of good governance. Here's the number. Number 4. Next is more aggressive promotion of government programs and policies. We will implement targeted communication campaign to highlight the administration's priority programs and reforms. These campaigns will ensure that policies are not only announced, but are also clearly understood by various sectors of society. By raising public awareness of government initiatives, we promote inclusivity, transparency, and accountability, and because people are better able to engage, respond, and hold government to its promises. Securing adequate budgetary support will enable the PCO to develop comprehensive communication strategies in collaboration with the executive branch that effectively convey the President's vision, priorities, and progress to the public. This will not only create awareness and understanding among citizens, but also earn support and cooperation from various stakeholders, including government agencies, private sector entities, civil society organizations, and international partners. And lastly, we are committed to modernizing and revitalizing our state-owned media entities so that they remain credible, competitive, and responsive to the needs of the public. This includes upgrading facilities, adopting new technologies, and diversifying content formats. By doing so, we can reach broader audiences across regions,